guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Always Something Garage, and as you can see, we finally got the Mustang in the video. So today we're going to go over the history of the car and what my plan was to do with the car and what we did to it so far. So as you guys don't know, but this car has been in our family for plus 20 years now. It's 99 Ford Mustang GT. It's had a lot of stuff throughout the years be added on. So this is my dad. You guys seen him on the channel before, but actually this was kind of his baby as well as when my uncle owned it back in the day. This was kind of their stomping grounds, and this was their street car. So, but as I go over the car and all the stuff that they originally did for the car, and then we'll push on to me and see what we've done to the car so far.
All right, guys. So, like Caleb said, this car has been in the family 20 years. His uncle bought this car in 2000. I believe it was under 20,000 miles, 18,000 miles rings a bell or something like that. But it was bought out of North Carolina. He was living down in that area at the time, and he was always a Mustang guy. And you guys know me, I'm a truck guy, but I like anything with engines. So he had multiple different Mustangs. He bought this car and just wanted to continue to develop another street car in the new modern 99 when they switched over to the returnless system, the coil and plug, all the things that changed in 99 was all new to us. So bought this car in North Carolina. Some of you guys may know, some of you older guys will understand that is Mustang Mecca down there. He lived right in Cary, right outside of Raleigh. There was a shop called True Blue. If you guys can date, some of you guys, the older guys, will know who this is. But this car was tuned down there by a guy named Randy Haywood, one of the forerunners back then with John Mahovitz, which everybody knows from AccuFab. Randy and him were battling head to head in this new modular world. So basically, it had every bolt-on thing you could do to this car. It had a stock engine, stock trans, but everything else bolt-on. From long tube headers to pulley systems, better flywheel, better clutches, put Mosier axles in it, 31 splines, suspension, back then tubular K-member, tubular A-arms, subframe connectors. We did everything we could bolt-on wise to the car. And then we decided to go nitrous. So this was a nitrous car. NX Nitrous Express came out, in that time, was starting to become big. We put a wet system on this car. Fully electronic. We had all the safeties, hob switches, 2 steps in it, rev limiters, everything to protect this car. Up until Caleb, owned the car, it still had the original 1999 plastic intake on it with multiple 150 shot passes on the street and on the strip. So this car was tuned by Randy Haywood in 2001 on a 150 NX kit. It made 390 horse and I believe 557 foot-pounds of torque. This was a torque monster, as we all know nitrous can do. We were running at the track at that time 1170s. Some of you older guys know there was a roll cage or roll bar. If you were running over, I think 11.9s, you had to have a roll bar. So I put the roll bar that's in there now, currently, with the swing out bars and everything that you see. That was back in 2001. We ran a couple different races, but all day long, 150 shot, stock blocks, stock heads, obviously exhaust and things like that. But 1170s, about 117, 118 mile an hour. It was a good street car.
So, then how we got to this car, I started my first job, I guess it was 2018. So I was looking for my first vehicle that I bought. I'd always had the Dakota, it was my first vehicle, but I wanted to buy my own. So I was looking around for S550s, year from 15 to 17. I loved the black color. always have. They look pretty. The S550s are really nasty with the 5.0s. You can do a minimal bolt-ons and then make great power. But you know, my uncle always had this car. It's been in his garage for, it was like 10 years sitting in a garage. When I always wanted the car, but I know that was his baby. So it came down to, I was still shopping for the S550, and I'm close with my uncle, and I was like, hey, if you want me to, I can buy the car off of you. Since it hasn't moved in 10 years. I love this car. I grew up, driving in this car from church and, just street rides down the road. I love this car. I grew up in this car. So we went from there, and that we kind of made a deal, and here it is. I bought it back in 2018. It had 55,000 miles on it. Original miles, everything, no motor swap, nothing. The original 55,000 miles on it. So now, here it is now through the years. I think it has over 65,000 miles on it. Still original miles. Sure, it does have a new motor, but we'll get into that later. But that was kind of the story of how I personally bought this car. So we have the car now. It started, like we said before, it was a nitrous car. When I purchased it, nitrous, it wasn't enough. I didn't want to spend the time and the money filling up a bottle every single time. If people with nitrous, they know it's the pain of going to the store and getting it filled up. It sucks. So when I bought the car, I wanted more. I was either going to go supercharger or I was going to go turbo. And knowing our videos, we don't like to do stuff simple. We want to customize and design, and we want something special. Everybody can look at our cars and that's always something garage cars. So here it was. We had the stock motor, stock intake, stock everything. We did throw some new injectors on, and then we decided to buy the On3 kit. It's the China brand. Most of you guys probably know On3. I went with the 70 mil turbo for it. So we put everything on, stock motor still. We went to the tuner. I think it made like 380 something. I think it was 7 pounds of boost. But when we were actually at the dyno, we noticed that the motor wasn't running strong. Something was wrong. We noticed the number 7 cylinder, it was misfiring and it wasn't running right, and it didn't make the power that we were wanting to make. So then what happened has what we built now.
So, as Caleb said, we had an issue with number 7 cylinder. We ran a dynamic compression test on it right at the tuner, and it was down considerably. So we had to stop at 7 psi. Tuner, I'm glad we did. But it ran. I think he ran it all that summer. Got on it here and there, but we knew there was an issue with the engine. We had a lot of blow-by. That was one of the givens right off the bat. So we knew something was going on. Just didn't know what. Did we wash some rings out? Was it a valve issue? Who knows? But it only had 55,000 miles on it. So Caleb, obviously didn't want to drive it like that. So come that fall, we decided, okay, we're going to build a new engine for it. And of course, there was all kinds of plans, Texid block, forged crank, and numbers just got out of control. I tried to settle down a little bit because we knew we wanted to be at a certain horsepower number. We were shooting for 600 and didn't want Caleb to spend a bunch of money. Yes, we do a lot of the work ourselves, but I still wanted to, let's build one engine, and if he wants to go up higher and build something 600 plus, then we could do that later. But so ended up finding an engine up in PA for $250 complete. The guy said it did run, but it ran rough. I didn't hear it run. It was already out of the car. So we get it back. It was 2001 Romeo block. I was looking for Romeo block, Romeo heads. Took it apart, and we found 4 bent rods in it. So it was running rough. Unbelievable that it actually ran, but I didn't care because we were going to put new internals in it. So basically, we wanted to do something that could take some more boost, obviously, without getting dollar-wise out of control. All right, so we get this engine back. Like I was saying, it had some bent rods in it. I looked in one of the cylinders. I think it was cylinder 4. It actually looked like it was scarred up pretty bad. So we ended up needing to get it bored. So we looked at some different piston brands, and I ran across Icon, which I've been out of the motorsports game for a few years. We've been in the ATV racing thing lately for the last 10 years. But yeah, Icon, UEM, which is learned a little bit about them, it's a great piston. So it's a 2618 forging, so it's good for boost, low silicone. But I started looking at the cranks, and forged to get a Cobra crank. Could we get one? Yeah, but then you got to get a machine. But these stock cranks were good for like 600 horsepower. So that's where we were at. That's what we wanted to make, 600. We wanted to keep stock cams. We kind of wanted to keep it pretty much stock, as you can see from the pictures of it right now. It's pretty stock. So yeah, so we bored it 20 over. Went with an Icon 18cc piston. Put some good stainless rings in there. So I had a set of heads that came with it, and I thought, wow, I got them off. We might as well port and polish them. Would it help? Maybe with stock cams, no, but I've done a bunch of them in my past, life here, and I said, well, I go ahead. I think I got 82 hours in them. But I ported them out, followed some guidelines, opened them up just slightly in some areas, straightened it out. Nothing crazy. But that's what we did to the heads. Got new valves, stock valves in it. Sent it to the machine shop. Had a valve job done to it. It's got Brian Tooley springs in it, valve springs, and that's pretty much the heads. The rods. Ended up going with Boss 302 Roadrunner rods. Some of you guys may be familiar. That's what's in here now. It was a direct replacement. They were cheap. So I did pistons, rods. I actually did all the weighing and scaling, balancing, I guess blueprinting here. I have a scale and a rod balancing tool I made. Maybe we'll get into that one time. I'll show you. But I personally made that. And then we had the crank balanced. So it's a whole balanced rotating assembly. It's got new lash adjusters. I think we went with trick flows. It has boundary billet oil pump gears in it. The timing chains, all brand new timing chains and guides. So when we started putting it together, we thought we could use some of the parts, but I just said, why skimp? So everything inside is new. It's got ARP head studs. I degreed the cams in. They were stock cams, but I degreed them, and obviously you may know this or not, is they were off. So I got trick flow adjustable timing gears in it. But basically everything internally in here was brand new. And that's how I wanted them to start off. Why we got this far is to kind of put some old parts back in. So that's the engine. But then on the outside, of course, Caleb said we put this all-in-3 turbo kit. Heard a lot of bad press about it, but you know what? I'm very impressed with what it was. Yes, there's things that we had to do to it. I took the headers and I actually put them on a belt sander and flattened the header flanges. I flattened all the V-band flanges, made sure they were flat, got weld warp and things. We did find one of the headers had a hole in the weld where the collector came together. Fixed that up. I made a jig up actually to pressure test the headers because I heard these things about what was going on. So we changed the wastegate out. It's got a precision wastegate 46 on it. We're using the on-3 blow-off valve, but everything else is on 3. Even to we use the rear exhaust connector pipe. But when we did the motor, Caleb wanted to obviously do something a little different. He wanted a side exhaust. So I thought it would be cool to have a dump valve to actuate the rear exhaust, so it's got a full Flowmaster rear exhaust on it now, plus the side fender outlet, bumper outlet. So might be hard to see, but down inside here on the downpipe, I actually spliced in a Y, and it has an electric cutout on it. So it's got the stock plastic intake. You got an AccuFab elbow and 75mm throttle body on it. But as you can see, it still retains the air conditioning, and it still looks pretty factory. So fuel system on this is now a return style. We got rid of the returnless just for a little better drivability and tunability. So we have the 4 Innovations regulator and the regulator mount for the stock fuel rails. We still have our FRPS in here for tuning. Here's our return line, and this little switch here or sensor is for our second pump. So we are running 2 pumps staged.
Well, we got the car all lifted up, and like I was saying before, I wanted that side exhaust, so now you got a good view of what we did. So we have the custom Y coming off of the downpipe, and then we have the QTP electric cutoff that's hooked inside the car. We have a little switch for that, and you'll see that later. But we have a 4-inch side exhaust for it, so it's definitely when you flip that electric cutoff onto the side exhaust, it definitely sounds pretty nasty.
All right, so you can see there's not a T45 in here anymore, of course. Always got to have something different. But yeah, Caleb had the idea he wanted to stick with a manual stick car, which was fine with me. But I knew the T45 that we had in here from all those years, actually it's been rebuilt twice, and it was a good T45, but not strong enough for 600 horse and 600 foot-pounds of torque. So we ran across a buddy of ours, had a swap out from a Cobra 04. He put a Magnum in it, and he had this laying around. So we picked it up for a good price, and it had some miles on it. So we went ahead and bought a gearbox, the gearbox stage 2 kit, and put inside there. And while we had it apart, we went with 26 splined input shaft. So it's got all good parts inside of it now. Went and put a Ram steel flywheel in there. It's got a Ram Power Grip HD clutch in it currently right now, and is holding up to this horsepower that we're throwing at it right now. So it's got a Stifler's cross member, which all you guys are familiar with these, and they're great. I was going to make one from scratch, and why? Right, for the price of that, and the adjustability was perfect. So yeah, it's got a Cobra drive shaft we found. We put in it. We put the Cobra. We put the flange on it, the correct flange, so it's got the correct length in it. As you can see, it's got subframe connectors. Yeah, and that's pretty much from here back, and we'll talk about the rear. All right, so we're almost through. We're into the back of the car. Like I spoke about earlier, it's got Mosier 31 spline axles in it. It's got a factory 31 spline track lock, 373 gears in it. That's what we ran with the nitrous car, and believe it or not, with the T56 gearing, it's doing pretty well with the gears right now. I thought maybe we'd have to go down some, but it's working. And Caleb will probably fill you in on how it is working. So the axle tubes are welded. We got the tubes are welded. As you can see, we have a anti-roll bar on it now. It's got UPR adjustable uppers. It's got these old school, some of you guys, Megabyte Juniors on the bottom. Probably at some point we'll be switching those out. It's got strange single adjustable drag shocks on the back. But yeah, it's set up to go straight, and it does really well.
So for front suspension of the car, it does have a full tubular K member from UPR with the A-arms as well. Front suspension, it does have Totico 5-way adjustable coilovers on the front. The Totico, they're actually, they're older brand, but they still work like a charm. They're great.
So we're running a 4 Innovation hat. Actually, this is an older style hat we got off of the marketplace, and it was set up for 2 GT supercar pumps. Originally, we were thinking that we could go returnless at the horsepower that we wanted, which we could, but talking with our tuner talked us into going staged stage pumps, which I'm glad he did. It's definitely a lot nicer drivability. So it's I modified the 4 Innovations mounts inside the hat. The main primary pump is a GT supercar pump, and the secondary pump is a Walbro 342 that is staged in at 5 psi, which you saw on the regulator there. So that worked out great, and I always saw that it was always hard to get to these fuel pumps and to the fuel hats. I know you can cut in different hatches and different plates, so as you can see, we designed something a little different just because we can do that. So I made that new sheet metal entry there and put a 1/2-inch polycarbonate Lexan bulletproof glass bolted down. It's a nice visual effect, and obviously it makes it nice getting out. We do have a year 1 03-04 Cobra tank in this. Cobra tanks original are hard to come by and expensive, but we had bought the year 1. Had to do a slight mod to it for the filler neck vent, but it was a brand new tank, so welding on it was not a big deal. While we're back here, you can see we have the battery relocated. Battery disconnect switch, which we do have a rod for the track. Ran all new battery cables around, and I got them bulkheaded down through this tire well and run down the driver's side. All electronics are back and tucked back behind here for the fuel pump system.
So interior of the car, it's pretty basic. Have a couple things that we've done. In the front, we got a bunch of gauge pods for it. It does have a shift light. I think we have ours is 5800 for shift light. It does have an SCT tuner on it. The car does have 2 different tunes for 93 and then MS-109 race fuel. Switched out the radio. The old school had the cassette player and the CD player. So here for where the cassette player was, we have our new panel. It does have a 2-step on it, so that's what that USB plug-in is for, so we can change the different settings. That little red switch is for our line lock. So now you can put that switch up, and then the red light will say that it's on. And then on the side, I have my engage for the line lock. And then that little switch to the left is for my electric cutoff. Shifter-wise, we have the MGW short throw shifter. Works great. I love it. A lot of people, says the MGW is the best short throw shifter out there in the market right now for the new edges, and it works great. So in the back, it's the original roll bar that my dad made for this car. Does have the kick-out doors with the pins. Seats-wise, I took out the stock ones. I hated the stock. They were so bulky, so heavy. It had the electric seats in it. Replaced them with the Corbu Trail Cats. I actually picked these up on Facebook Marketplace for I think $750. Came with the seat brackets as well. It was an amazing deal. So yeah, I love these seats. If you haven't already bought these or tried sitting in them, they're the best seats out in the market right now. I'm sure they are expensive, but they're so comfortable. In the rear of the car, it does have a seat delete kit on it. It saves a couple pounds. But it also does look great because it has the same black carpet for it. All just looks clean, matches the car well. Wheel and tire package for the front, at least. I got some front runners for it. M&H's, they are bias ply fronts. They are 26 tall. It has a 17 JMS, 17 by 4.5 wheel on the front. You know, I love the 17 in the front and then 15 in the rear. I do like that style better than you know, 15 all around. So in the rear, we got the JMS 15 by 10 rims on, and then they are on Mickey Thompson ET Street R's. They are the 28 by 11.5 15s. So most guys, and you know, they see the 28s. You know, they say they're terrible, especially for the new edges. That, you know, they want the what are they, the 26s. So with the gearing in my car and the 28s, I mean, it's perfect, especially with the turbo cars. It does not bog the car down at all. It hooks and grips perfectly in this track. And my ET time, that, you know, pulling out at the end of the strip, I mean, fourth gear at 6,000. I mean, it's beautiful. It's perfect. So for tuning and horsepower wise, like we said, the first motor with the on3 made 380, but that was with the bad cylinder. And then we kind of bumped it up. I think it made 500 on 93 pump gas. We'll throw the private picture of it. And then with the 109 MS-109 race fuel from VP, it made 550 to the wheel. So, you know, 600 was my goal, and it's going to be. Actually, I bought some new parts for it. So next video coming up, you'll see the new parts for it, and hopefully we're going to strive for that 600 number. So, you know, one night we took down to our local track, Windsor County Dragway. It was actually my first time actually going down the track, which was pretty cool, and first time for the car to go down the track. You know, it took, I think it was our 4th run. We got our goal that we wanted this car. So this car is a 10-second car. It went 10.8 at 131. Probably throw a little time slip up there. I mean, for a stick car and all the money that we put in this car, which it is a budget build, but to get in the 10s is amazing. That was, like I said, our goal for this car, for this street car and a stick car, to be in the 10s. It's pretty cool. So like I said, 550 to the wheel, and it should be around 550 torque on the rear wheel. Getting into the 10s, I mean, it did have a slow 60 foot. I think it was in 1.6s, which is actually, it's super slow. I mean, there's so much room for improvement, and I'm thinking we'll hit the 1050s. Hopefully, that's the next goal coming out there. So I'm sure when we go to the track the next time, you guys will be along for the ride, and hopefully all goes well and we'll get our new personal best. So that'll be the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed, you know, our build for the Mustang. And like I said, more videos to come. And hope you guys like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.